One deck that definitely should not be slept on this format is Plunder Patrol. What is up, guys? This is Tcg Sam here, and in this video I'm going to be going over my Adventure Plunder Patrol deck for the new March 2023 format. So without any further ado, let's just hop straight into it. I'm going to start things off with the Plunder Patrol monsters, playing 1 copy of Redbeard and 3 copies of Whitebeard for like the quick effect swappers. So essentially, Whitebeard is definitely the better one. Whenever it's sent from hand or field to grave, you special summon a plunder from your deck. So going first is Great Extender. Going second, on the follow-up turn, you're able to summon out Redbeard to tag out on your opponent's turn. And the reason why I only play 1 Redbeard is because its effect just isn't that good. You only really want to be summoning him off of Whitebeard on your opponent's turn, so 1 is more than enough. Just standalone, it's probably the worst Plunder Patrol out there by itself. It doesn't really combo too well with any of the other ones as well, like Whitebeard does. And it's not even a tuner, so you don't get that utility as well. So definitely just 1 Redbeard I think is enough, and 3 copies of Whitebeard. This is totally fine since we aren't playing Desires and we don't risk losing out on our 1 copy of Redbeard. Next up, 3 copies of Bluebeard. This is just the extender for the Plunder Patrols. Not much to say here, just a great level 4 extender, and it's pretty generic effect of allowing you to ditch a card and draw a card. So you can ditch cards like from the Adventure engine or the Plunder engine and get more value off of that way. 3 copies of Golden Hair. Golden Hair is definitely great. This is sort of like your way to quote-unquote 1-card combo in this deck, where you just need a discard and you're able to make your Blackbeard with this, and that can be really good when you have a handful of like hand traps and just adventure stuff and no way to get to your Plunder engine. So that's definitely pretty good. 3 copies of Black Eyes is like the best one, like mid to late game. You just get a free recursion and I get a free body out onto the board. Definitely want to play 3. Works very well with like any of the other Plunder Patrols essentially. And then for the rest of the Plunder engine, I'm playing 1 copy of Emblem and 4 field spells. So Emblem I really like as a utility card. You're just able to tag out any of your less useful plunders into actual ship without having to like go through the conditions of like Blackbeard, for example. So if you have just like 1 monster, you can use this to turn into another ship. You can turn like a useless ship that doesn't have anything equipped to it into another ship, for example. Or if your opponent just doesn't have that many great attributes for you to use, you're always able to guarantee that you're able to cheat out some of the ships at least, because the Adventure engine at least gives you like the Earth ships, and you can cheat out Blackbeard using this since all your guys are water. And of course the field spell is just probably the best card in the deck. There's not really much to say about that. Its discard cost is definitely mitigated by a card like Water Enchantress in this deck, so that's what makes this card great as well. Speaking of Water Enchantress, we're playing 4 copies of it. The Adventure engine is just insane, especially this format with the lack of like Ishizu shufflers. You're able to resolve this more often by dumping it to the graveyard with like your discard costs or Foolish Burial. So you want to take advantage of that. Foolish Burial also, I guess, can work with some of the plunders as well. Like Foolish Burial, Black Eyes can work, but most of the time you're just dumping Water Enchantress off of it. Of course, we're playing 3 copies of Rite of Aramis here, and before I forget to mention, if this is out of your budget, then I recommend checking out my budget Plunder Patrol Kaiju deck, which is already up on my channel. So if you still want to play Plunder Patrols, then you can definitely play it on a budget. That profile is pretty budget friendly, so you guys can check that out if you want instead. But yeah, 3 copies of Rite of Aramis here. You just want to see the Adventure engine. It just works so well with this deck, and it just gives the deck so much. Like, now you have a bunch of like extra level 4 extenders. You have a way to go first, you have a way to go second. There's just so many great things about it. For the rest of the Adventure engine, 1 Dracoback, 1 Wandering Griffin Rider, and 1 Faithful Adventure. Not much to say about these. These are pretty standard parts of the Adventure engine. I actually side deck Illegal Knight for going second. I think Illegal Knight is better than Griffin going second, but going first, I still want to have Griffin Rider, so I don't lose to cards like Evenly or anything like that. But Illegal Knight, definitely you can put it in the main deck as well. I just didn't want to play over 40 cards. That's it for the engine. Now for the non-engine, playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom, probably the most generic, best hand trap this format. Not much to say about that. 3 copies of Nibiru. I also really like Nibiru this format. It's great against Kashtira, great against most other decks out there. So I think, yeah, Nibiru is great also because in this deck, it gives your opponent a light token, and you can use that light token to summon probably the best extra deck monster you have access to. So yeah, Nibiru, 3 impermanence, like similar to Ash Blossom. It's like just generic. It's incredibly good against like all the matchups out there. We can turn off back row against like Labyrinth as well. So definitely want to play 3 of these as well. And then finally, the last card, it's sort of personal preference as a going second card, but I like Evenly Matched still. Evenly Matched, I feel even though you're going first deck, the fact that this card is so strong going second, I think you're able to play it. You can definitely swap this with a card like Talents or something. It's just personal preference, like I mentioned. The only thing I would caution against is you may not really want to play Book of Eclipse. This deck doesn't have like the best way of mass clearing monsters, so that's something to watch out for. Also, flipping them face down means like you take away some of the attributes you can steal with your Plunder Patrol. So you'd only rely on what's in your opponent's graveyard then. So just a word of caution about Book of Eclipse. It's definitely a good card, but in this deck, you may want to try something like Talents or this instead. So that's it for the main deck, 40 cards. And moving on to the extra deck now, playing 3 copies of Blackbeard. This is the best one, of course, just a generic link to, so when your opponent gives you Ibly, you can just summon any Plunder Patrol, make this, and you have access to your engine, so you don't really have to play a card like Lingaribo in your deck. And then its effect, of course, just lets you tag out any one of your effect monsters into a Plunder Patrol ship, and then draw a card, so that's really strong. There's just the heart and soul of the deck. You definitely want to play 3. Even if Kashtira wasn't a thing, you still play 3, just because you probably go through like 2 in most games, if not all games. For the actual ships themselves, 2 copies of the Dark One, Mork. Mork's pretty great. Spot removal for monsters. This is how you're able to disrupt your opponent most of the time. You can also hard make it a lot of times, and then get rid of something on the board, attack, make Zeus. That's one of the ways you can do that as well, since it clears out the board a bit. And then we play 2 copies of List for the light ship. List is incredibly good. Just gives you the extension effect of summoning from hand or your spell and trap zone during like either main phase. Is incredibly strong because it means a card like Blackbeard gets so much value. So you can like on one turn Blackbeard summon List summon out Blackbeard, and then on your opponent's turn, not only do you have a List, you also have a Blackbeard to tag out into another ship and draw another card. So List is definitely one of the best ships out there, and that's why you want to play a card like Nibiru, because you're able to summon this more consistently. You notice we aren't playing the fusion spell. Just a quick note about that. I don't think that card's really great. You only want to see it in the graveyard, and I think those types of cards just, you don't need to play them. So yeah. We are playing 2 copies of Jord. Jord's a great extender turn 1, but also shockingly, like, it's not terrible to sit on Jord either, because worst case scenario, if you end on Jord with something equipped to it, like whenever your opponent specials, you not only get to search like a follow-up, but you also get to special like a Whitebeard or a Redbeard from the deck, and then you're able to tag out into another ship. So Jord essentially on its own, like, gives you a way to generate resources as well as a disruption. So I think Jord, even leaving it on the board, is not bad. We want to play 2 of the important ships, of course, so we don't lose to Kashtira. We are only playing 1 copy of Bran. I don't think this card is that important, especially in the Kashtira matchup. It's not really needed. It's really good against back row decks, but I think back row decks just aren't the most prevalent. If things like Trap Tricks or Labyrinth become really popular in area, I definitely recommend, I guess, playing 2, so you always have access to it. But aside from that, I think 1 is pretty good in just the general meta, since there aren't too many back row decks out there. It can also help you push for game because it boosts up your all your guys by 500 attack. And then moving on to the non-plunder stuff, 1 copy of Almirage. Almirage, definitely great since it turns Golden Hair into a 1-card combo. It lets you play with like Black Eyes plus like a bad Plunder Patrol, quote-unquote bad Plunder Patrol. So like Black Eyes Golden Hair, Black Eyes Redbeard becomes a combo then. Whereas before they would just kind of be bricks. But now with Almirage, you're able to actually turn those into meaningful combo. Next, we're playing 1 copy of Dragite. This is just a really generic 8 that you can always make in this deck. Just the spell and trap negation. And then we're also able to sometimes break stuff if we get lucky and excavate a Nibiru. Since we are playing water monsters, we're able to take advantage of Bahamut Shark and Totally Awesome as well, which is great. Going first, if you open a hand full of like plunder monsters, this is usually what you go for. Instead of just ending on Blackbeard, you can go for like Bahamut Shark, then Totally Awesome, summon a plunder extender, and then link this off into a copy of Blackbeard. So Blackbeard Totally Awesome is really good in that sense. Totally awesome, of course, not only negates and steals, but also lets you add back a plunder resource from your graveyard. So even if you don't have a plunder card in your hand to discard for a ship, you guarantee one with totally awesome. So definitely, I think a really great package for going first. And then, of course, one Zeus. It's okay if this one gets banished from your extra deck by Kashtira, and that's the one they're probably going to go for. Since you don't really need it, you're able to break through the Kashtira board with just your regular extra deck monsters. But it's definitely just a great utility piece against most other decks out there. So yeah, that's going to do it for the deck profile. So hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, let me know what you thought by leaving a like, commenting, and subscribing. But with that being said, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for the combo and test hand video that's coming out for this deck soon. But yeah, once again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.